Hello, everyone. Welcome to the episode 66 of The Ruins of Warsaw. I'm Alexandra and I'm the storyteller.
Hi, I'm Dolores and I'm playing Janina of Klambu.
Hi, my name is Faye and I'm playing Beatrice Wozniak of Clan Malkavian.
And as always, Partners is there in the chat as Keeper of the Elysium and also taking care of the tech so that we can stream. So thank you, Partners, for being there and helping us. And thank you all so much for joining us again to see what happens to our two kindred in 1940s Warsaw. So let's start with a recap of where we were last time. We started the session with Janina going to see her ghoul, Hannah. And she quickly picked up on the fact that Hannah was nervous. And after a bit of conversation, Hannah first revealed that she was scared because there was a body found in the area of someone who had been murdered. And of course, Janina recognized that she had killed that man when losing control when feeding the previous night, and also stole his wallet in order to bring some money for Hannah, which she gave to her. But later, Hannah also shared that there was an unknown woman who visited her, who came in to ask about Janina, and somehow Hannah ended up letting her in and telling her basically everything she knew. And Janina, of course, realized that the woman was a kindred, but didn't recognize anyone from the description given by Hannah. But she decided to take Hannah to Hotel Bristol for safety. Meanwhile, Bea was returning to the hotel, and on the way, noticed in the entrance a man arguing with someone guarding the door. And the man turned out to be a ghoul who brought Koteri's friend, Roman the Nosferatu, back in torpor. And Bea helped the man bring Roman in. Janina soon returned with Hannah, and the two kindred went to see Roman. Janina bringing some of the blood she got from her experiments that she originally intended to share with someone else, but in this situation took to Roman, who was awakened by his sire, and he revealed that he and two other Nosferatu were attacked by someone described as a monster wearing clothes made out of flesh. And while Roman was quickly beaten into torpor and a ghoul who brought him back hid, the other two Nosferatu ran away into the tunnels and were chased by that attacker, and wasn't clear what happened to them as of now. Later on, Bea and Janina spent some time together. They discussed Janina's project and Bea's missing sire, Felicia, with Bea very acutely feeling how much she missed her sire. Bea was also introduced to Hannah and also received congratulations from the Keeper of the Elysium, Mihail, on her new paramour, and great foresight in starting that and accomplishing that relationship so soon after her patron was exiled. Next night, it was the New Year's Eve, and Janina still decided to work, and she took Hannah and Magdalena the Tremere to her lab in order to introduce Magdalena to her research. And while they sent Hannah ahead downstairs at the hospital, Janina and Magdalena talked a little about the independence of Janina that Magdalena observed, and Magdalena's feelings that her sire, Mr. Cernowski, wasn't happy with her. Meanwhile, Bea spent the night with the sheriff, Antoni Bielecki, her paramour, and after they got up, they were visited by Antoni's ghoul, Joanna, who brought the news that there was a kindred who got killed, and the news was brought back by his surviving ghoul. Antoni, after a brief moment of consideration, ordered the ghoul to be retired, but Bea intervened and decided to save the man. And got to know Mr. Edward Domański, whom she offered some of her vita. And that was where we left last time. And we will pick up here with Bea. So Bea, you just left Mr. Domański in the room where he was resting. You shared your vita with him. And you're back in one of the corridors where some of the kindred have their offices.
I think I'd like to head down to reception to go speak to Mariusz about getting some sort of accommodation for Mr. Domański. Yeah. So
you're starting to head out into the Elysium, to head downstairs. And you see Mr. Sarnowski coming towards you. And he's clearly catching your eye as he walks across the room.
Fair enough. I have been looking for him as well, so in which case I will head in his direction.
Miss Wozniak, are you free? I was told I will find you here.
Yes, sir.
Please follow me.
Of course.
And he continues right where you came from, towards those corridors.
Fair enough.
And even before you leave the Elysium, he turns to you and starts talking. My primogen would like to see you.
Very well.
Tell me, what languages do you speak?
Just Polish, I'm afraid.
That's all right. I will translate then.
Thank you.
And then you leave into the corridors. And he starts leading you, not quite to one of the offices in here, it's like along the corridor and then down one floor. But on the way, he turns to you and asks, have you made any progress with the prisoner?
Yes, sir. I believe he trusts me enough and believes that I intend to free him.
That's good.
I'm also in the process of acquiring some blood for him so that should he need to be roused.
That's wise precaution. Are you using the project of Miss Shivak for that purpose?
I acquired some separate supplies.
Are they reliable supplies?
Well, I can easily access hospital storages, so it's easy enough for me.
He raises an eyebrow, looks to you. Is there any particular reason why you would not use a resource you have so easily accessible from Miss Shivak?
I'm avoiding mentioning any of my work to her as much as possible.
Can you just ask her to give you what you need?
I can, but I just consider it better to keep her as far away from it as possible. She can be quite perceptive.
What are you feeling and thinking as you're saying this?
I'm feeling a little unsettled. I'm not entirely sure why. I mean, partially just because Mr. Sarnowski makes me quite uncomfortable. I think I'm also quite nervous given that I'm apparently going to go meet his primogen. But in terms of why I've been not involving Janina's project, I think it's because in my head that's used for something else. And
yeah, I mean, you previously said that you wanted it to be just hers.
Yes. Yes, that's true. Sorry, I'd forgotten that.
That's fine.
Thank you for the reminder.
Just reminding you.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm a little uncertain as to why he's pushing on this. But I'm not going to question him. Sir, I wanted to raise something else that's happened in the meantime.
What is it?
A crow arrived at my window the other night and deposited an item that was sent to me by one of the Sabbat. It was a bag full of ashes of someone that I used to know, I think.
Do you have any theories as to the meaning of that message?
My only current working theory is perhaps a hurry up.
Have you had any other contact with them in the meantime?
No.
It's probably to be expected. Well, I know my primogen will want to discuss this. As for the prisoner, as long as you have reliable, quick supply, I don't have a particular preference of where the blood comes from. But avoiding any delays or unnecessary middle steps should be your priority.
Yes, sir.
You can start slowly feeding him, help him regain his strength. Of course, in the end, you're going to have to bring him more so that he can walk out of there. It needs to be believable. He needs to trust you. You
Yes.
might start thinking on where and how to bring a person to him for when we are simulating his escape. If you require any help or advice, of course ask.
I think that would be useful.
What are you uncertain about?
I suppose I simply haven't brought someone somewhere like that before. Do you have particular people in mind that you would think to bring, or?
It's easier with certain gifts. Perhaps some of the abilities you possess might be useful in it. If you can make someone trust you, find a pretext. Think on it.
Yes, sir.
We don't have much more time to discuss it now. It's for the future. But be prepared.
Yes, sir.
And you arrive in front of a door where Mr. Cernovsky stops and knocks at first. And there is a response that comes in Russian. How are you feeling?
Unsettled. Not exactly thrilled with the idea of just bringing a random person to feed entirely to Arik. Because I have a funny feeling he's not going to be polite about his feeding. And I'm presuming that, well, I didn't insight check him, but from what I've remembered of my previous interactions with Mr. Cernovsky, he's generally pretty callous, so.
I mean, you can roll your perception
Sure.
and empathy on him if you'd like.
Why not? Let's go. Options. And difficulty 6.
Yes.
Does insightful apply here?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, in which case 6 successes.
And you do see that he is, throughout the conversation, yes, there isn't any moral concern there or anything along those lines. When you speak of not using Janina's project, he seems genuinely puzzled,
Okay.
A little bit frustrated.
Okay.
And then when he talks about bringing a person, you see that he's considering whether to tell you that or not, and decides that it needs to be said, and it does, and it is meant as a genuine advice.
Okay.
But there is there is a consideration of whether it's a good time to tell you, but he decides that you need to be prepared and known, and that is most important to approach this efficiently.
Okay.
So that's what you get.
Okay. That doesn't make me feel better. Makes me feel. No, that doesn't make me feel better.
And he opens the door, and you come in, and you see standing there, leaning against a desk, a man looking to be maybe in his 40s, with graying black hair, dressed all in black blazer, shirt, and trousers, clean shaven, who's, as you enter, says something to you in Russian, and you understand your surname, and Mr. Cernovsky's surname, to which Mr. Cernovsky turns to you and translates. Come in, Ms. Wozniak, it's a pleasure to meet you. Mr. Cernovsky briefed me on your mission.
Thank you, sir, I say, and I will bow to him.
And you see that Mr. Cernovsky steps to the side and starts listening to the conversation. Mm-hmm. And the primogen of Clan Tremere continues. I'm Friedrich Weisinger. Very pleased to meet you. Please sit down. And she gestures to a chair.
I will take a seat.
And he sits opposite from you. And Mr. Cernovsky pulls up a chair and sits to the side as well. And Mr. Weisinger looks to you and says, I understand you have been tasked with gaining the trust of the Sabbat.
Yes, sir.
How much progress have you made so far?
I will explain to him the steps that have gone through, especially involving sort of interactions with the Sabbat and Arik, and the level of trust that he seems to have in me, and that I'm preparing to start feeding him blood.
Nods his head and says, do you have a reliable supply of blood?
I have a few options to follow, yes.
And then Mr. Cernovsky translates, and you have a feeling says something more, but you don't understand.
No.
And Friedrich Weisinger just nods his head to that, and turns to you. So, you haven't interacted with Sabbat very much yet. We will need to change it as soon as possible. How much can you tell me about them now? Do you know where they sleep during the day?
I will spend a point of willpower to be able to recall as much as I can about the Sabbat as possible. And will share what I know, especially regarding the garrison and the main church. That seems to be the sort of primary hideout. I guess I can also mention Lady Leocadia's estate. Anything else? Player coming
I
to
think
us.
that's about it. That at the moment.
Yeah.
There were like other places, but they were a long time ago, and
Mhm.
even the previous sheriff has been at them, so
Yeah.
that's not the most recent knowledge.
No.
Nods his head. And what about your relationship with them? Who trusts you? Who suspects you? Do you know that?
I will go through the interactions that I've had, the ones that have seemed positive, the ones that are much less so. Sorry, my brain just froze mid-sentence. That's helpful. These I will definitely mention the slightly complicated dynamic with Lady Leocadia, Gravedigger, Irmina, the woman at the wedding who looked at me quite mistrustfully. If there's anyone else, I'm not thinking of them off the top of my head.
I think one thing you realize as you think about it is that you've had some relationships with those people, but you don't know a lot about many of them.
No.
As you remember, because well, except for Lady Leocadia, you then only visited them once.
Well, yeah. Well, I got tortured by some of them previously, so that certainly counts as uninteraction.
Yes, but it wasn't after you were ordered to do this thing.
No.
He listens, nods his head.
I can also
Very well.
Sorry. I can also mention the fact that Gravedigger previously expressed that if I need help, that I can ask them for it. I think that was what he said to me.
He said that, and he told you where to come to get in touch, to leave a message.
Yeah. So.
Mr. Reisinger nods his head. Very well then, I would like you to go tonight and leave a message. Get in touch with them. Time is of the essence here, and we cannot allow any delays.
Yes, sir.
When you're there, observe anything may be of value, their personalities, their relations to each other, their conflicts between each other. And of course, who might suspect you. I understand that you might not remember everything when you come back, but I've been told your memories can be retrieved with effort. Is that true?
Yes, sir.
He nods his head. Then know that you will be able to relay what you see, even if you forget your mission when you are with the Sabbat, once we retrieve you.
Thank you, sir.
Do you have any questions, any doubts, anything you're unsure about?
I will ask him whether he has anything in mind for reaching out to them tonight, or if it's simply just an excuse for me to go to them to meet with them.
He raised his eyebrows a little bit. We need to gather more information before we can plan.
any more decisive steps.
Yes, sir.
Act as if you wanted to discuss freeing the prisoner for them.
Very well.
A lot depends on your task, Ms. Wozniak.
Yes, sir.
I
understand.
know there might be moments when you're unsure, when you hesitate, when you don't know if you should take some risk. But I want you to remember that because it is so important, you can't afford to hesitate to do what's necessary. Focus on what needs to be accomplished.
Yes, sir.
How are you feeling?
Very small. um, like I'm in the room with two very dangerous people. But also quite focused.
Are you trying to hide your discomfort?
Yes.
Roll your self-control and subterfuge.
Oh, my favorite.
Difficulty 6.
I presume my specialty of hiding emotions might come into this.
Oh, yes.
Yes, I think it is going to be coming into this. That is 6 successes.
He looks to you and leans back a little bit and relaxes a little bit and says, I know you might be unnerved, Ms. Wozniak. I want to reassure you that me and my clan appreciate the assistance that you are offering. If we seem to push you, it is because of the importance of that task and striking back against the Sabbat, who currently has the upper hand.
I understand, sir.
But what you're doing will not be forgotten, and you will not be abandoned to the Sabbat. How are you feeling?
At least mildly reassured, but I think still unsettled, but I think it's mostly from the sort of seriousness of what it is that I'm doing, and wanting to do it well. I don't think it changes the fact that I find both of these people quite intimidating, but I do make an effort to sort of relax a little bit myself, and remind myself that they are not my enemy. So maybe slightly less tense, but you know. But I'm also quite focused, and he said that I could raise other things whilst we were talking. So I will mention the fact that Gravedigger reached out with the pocket full of ashes. That I don't have a solid idea as to what that was about, other than perhaps a hint to hurry up.
Nods his head and considers it for a moment. It's difficult to know, given how little we ultimately know about him. And the way the Sabbat thinks is sometimes difficult to predict. But from what I've been told, I believe that he cares for our prisoner. I believe you should reach back to him.
Understood.
Is there anything else troubling you, Miss Wozniak?
No, sir.
It was a pleasure to meet you.
And you as well, sir.
I hope we will be successful in what we're trying to accomplish. And it
Yes.
might be a beginning of our further cooperation.
I look forward to it, sir.
As do I.
And I will bow to him once again. I'm presuming I'm being dismissed at this point.
Yes,
Very
you
well.
are.
In which case, I will bow and take my leave.
And you said Mr. Cernovsky
Doesn't leave with you, he just nods to you and he stays in the room.
Okay. I walk out into the corridor, go a few corridors away, and then sort of lean against a wall and try and recover some composure.
And you do that. Meanwhile, Janina. You walk down to your lab with Magdalena. Hatna is already there. But you see, as you approach and enter with Magdalena, that she's standing there in the lab, but she is not touching anything. She's kind of like she always does, looking around. She's observing some of the equipment you have there, but she's not even opening the fridge, not opening any of the lockers. She still seems not quite at ease in this environment. Magdalena, on the other hand, walks in with you and turns straight to you. Well, that's a nice place you have here.
Thank you. I hope you will find it accommodating as well.
Oh, I'm sure I will. Do you want to show me what
course.
you're working on?
Yes, of course. And I will walk with her and walk her through everything that I'm working on.
So you want to show her some of your samples.
Yes, and
And
like
you-
where everything is and stuff.
Yeah, so you show her where where the morgue, where you can get the bodies from. You show her your equipment, and at some point you want to show her the samples, and you immediately see that the last batch all coagulated and they're all spoiled.
Oh no.
That was your boss on science.
Yeah, that I already forgot about.
But I
Oh,
remember.
no.
Oh, I wrote it down.
Tragedy. Well, I look very disappointed and embarrassed a bit. And I explained to her that I must have made a mistake, that this haven't happened to me yet. And I go back to my notes and see the mistake that I made, like what I made different that made it spoil.
When you explain it, she says, "Oh, well, these things happened. What did you do? Let me have a look." And she leans over your shoulder.
I let
And
her.
roll your perception and science with difficulty 8. I'm actually gonna roll for
I
her.
have 1, 10, and 9, so 2 successes.
2 successes.
Yeah.
And she has 3, 4. Okay. So she notices it quicker. So you're kind of going over everything, and then she starts pointing out that, oh, I think you actually made a mistake here. The proportion seems slightly off. And it is a moment before you see it yourself. Like you would have gotten there in 10 more seconds or something. But you see she points that out, but it's not unfriendly in any way. It is,
Okay.
as far as you can tell, meant as helpful.
Okay. I just nod and smile and praise her for finding it before me. And I probably like say something like that I see that she's gonna be a big help already.
Well, I hope so. I worry I might be a little bit rusty when it comes to some things. I didn't have much chance to study or practice medicine in the last couple of years.
I'm sure you're gonna be just fine. You're already proving yourself being a great help.
Well, should we try
Yes,
to improve it?
Of course. Let's try again.
And I understand you want to get a body from the morgue.
Yes.
So you go to get a body. You bring it back. It's a body of a woman in her 50s. It looks like she's been in an accident. Part of her chest and arm is crushed. You think it might have happened at the construction site. And Magdalena kind of turns to you and says, "Do you want to show me what you do and how?"
Yes, and I bend over and start doing the usual routine when I'm extracting the blood.
So you start doing the usual routine and you start mixing a new, improved solution. And she's observing, and you see that Hannah is also observing. But she is trying to not stay too close to the body. Like when you bring the body in, she moves to the side of the lab, and she's not looking away, but is clearly unnerved a little by what is happening here.
Okay, I'm probably give her like, if our glances meet, I just give her a reassuring smile and not
She smiles.
comment on it.
She smiles back at you, but looks a little bit faint, that smile.
Okay.
And as you are transferring blood into containers, there is a knocking on the window of the lab, just on the door. And then a door slightly opens, and you see a head of someone dressed as a nurse, blonde, short-haired woman, looking maybe to be in her mid-20s at the most, who leans in. "I thought I heard someone here. What are you doing here? It's New Year's Eve. You're not on a shift and you're working? You should get out of here. Have some fun. Celebrate."
Have I seen this nurse before, like in the hospital?
I think you've seen her like passing around. She works here.
Okay. I just give her a smile and I just tell her that it's okay, that we are enjoying, that we are the study types. And I glance at Magda.
Magda says, "Yes, we are. We will go out to celebrate in a bit, but we need to finish this project, otherwise we might fail our exams." And she starts talking about like some professor who's really giving you a hard time. And you get the feeling there is some experience there, definitely.
Okay.
And the nurse just nods her head's like, yeah, I know what it can be like. Well, just don't stay here too late. It's one night when you can go and have some fun. We all really need it right now. Happy New Year. And then she leaves you.
Okay. I probably like compliment Magda about her quick-witted stories, and I will probably ask her if it was something she went through.
Well, I had demanding professors back when I studied medicine. Especially, they weren't fond of having a woman among their students, some of them. And now I have a demanding sire. So there's a lot of inspiration to draw on. Well, perception and empathy. Difficulty 6.
Okay, then 3 successes.
How many?
3.
3. So you actually see that she means it as a joke, and it's meant to be said in that manner. But you see there is a little bit of tension there when she mentions her sire, and she almost immediately feels bad for even making such a joke.
I probably try to just smile and take her attention back to working. And I probably look at Hannah and just tell her that if she wants to like do something fun, that she doesn't have to like stay tonight if it's New Year Eve.
Hannah looks to you, but I don't know. No, I'm happy to stay with you. I want to help. I want to learn this.
Okay, then I'm happy that you'll stay, but okay then, girls, let's get to work.
Then you start working. Do you have any feelings on the concept of celebrating even in your current circumstance?
Honestly, I don't think I feel like celebrating. There's too much like happening. Like maybe if I was still with Nastia, I would have definitely thought about that. But I think at this current state of everything, I'm just happy to be busy.
And then you're done with extracting as much blood as you can from this body. And Magda just says, "Oh, should we get some more? Or are we done here for tonight?"
How late it is?
It's not very late at all.
Okay, in that case, I think we can do another one.
She kind of glances to you and to Hannah, and then asks, "Hannah, do you want to help? I know it is unnerving, but you can just come with me." And Hannah is like, glances to you immediately.
I just nod at her and just like encourage her like to follow Magda. But like if there's like more hesitation, then I say that if she doesn't want to, that she doesn't have to like go to near the dead body.
I'm going to have to learn it, right?
Well, I mean, there's other work you can do around here without like touching the dead body, so I don't want to force anything on you. So depends on you. How are you feeling? Do you want to give it a go, or do you want to wait longer?
And she looks to you and then says, "I can give it a go."
Okay, but don't worry. If it's gonna be too nauseating for you, then you can just let Magda handle everything when it comes to the corpses.
All right. And you see that Magda smiles at her and says, "It is unnerving at first. I remember when I started studying, I nearly fainted. So if you do, don't worry, it's normal. It's part of the process." And she goes with her. Do you go with them or do you stay?
I probably stay and continue the solution from what we already have.
So you continue working on
There
the
doesn't have to be
solution.
party in the morgue.
And roll your perception and awareness with difficulty 8.
Oh no, I don't like that. I don't have any awareness, so
So roll your perception with difficulty 8.
yeah, I'm oblivious and happy.
Is it a
Because
fail or is it a botch?
It's no success.
No successes. Okay. So you are working for a moment, and then you're not quite sure how it happened, but you're not in your lab anymore.
Oh no.
You are walking along the street with purpose. You recognize where you are. You are walking through the center of town towards Three Crosses Square, passing the ruined buildings. And you feel quite a strong need to get somewhere. And you know that you're close.
Okay, I guess I'm going by the feeling and the instinct that I have to get there. Oh, I guess I'm confused why I'm walking, but that it's how it is. So I'm not trying to fight it. I'm just walking.
All right. And we'll come back to you.
Oh no.
Meanwhile, there. You are leaning against a wall of a corridor. What's running through your head?
Stress. Slightly dreading needing to interact with the Sabbat quite so soon. I wasn't aware that was going to be happening right now, so I guess I'm now pulling out my map and sort of looking at roughly how far I'd need to go to the drop off, or the point where I can.
To the garrison.
Yes, sorry.
Yeah, so that's 40-50 minutes to an hour of a walk.
Okay. I'll have to head off soon then. Which is, I'm finding a little bit stressful. So I don't really feel like I have the time to spend feeling sorry for myself or stressed. So just kind of like running a hand sort of through my hair, fold the map back up, and then remember that I'd actually been intending to do something beforehand, so I head down towards reception.
And you see Mariusz is there.
And I'll stop by. Good evening, Mariusz.
Miss Wojna, good evening.
So I'm going to be taking responsibility for Mr. Domaniewski going forwards, and I was wondering if it was possible, if there happens to be space for him to find a room here. If not, I can arrange something else, but...
I should be able to arrange something. You don't have to worry about it.
Thank you so much.
Will you want to pick up the key later, or do you want me to deliver it to your associate?
How long has it been since I left Mr. Domaniewski? Like,
A length of a conversation and a
Yeah,
little
so
bit,
not
not
particularly
very
long.
long at all.
would you be able to deliver it to him in about an hour?
Certainly.
Thank you. I appreciate that. If you could just let me know what room that's going to be, just so I can find him again in future.
Of course, Miss Wozniak, I need to make some inquiries, but I will share that information as soon as we arrange something.
Thank you very much.
Where may I find you? Will you be where you are staying?
I'm probably going to be going out for a bit this evening, but if I'm not in my room, if you just leave a note under the door, then I should be able to get that.
I should have the information for you before you get back.
Thank you very much. Have a pleasant evening.
You too, and Happy New Year, Miss Wozniak.
Oh yes, and to you. And after excusing myself, head out into the street.
And you step out, and there's still snow covering the streets and the ruins of the city. But it's not snowing right now. There are some clouds, but some moonlight falls through. It's not one of the darkest nights as can be in the city. There's some illumination along some of the streets that you're taking. And you see on the way some people already drank. You pass some people playing music, some people singing. There's people dancing in the streets. How are you feeling? What's running through your head?
I think there is sort of a moment where I kind of pause and listen to like a little bit of the music for maybe a minute or so, not a huge length of time, but it has a sort of warm feeling to it, so sort of nostalgia. But I think I'm a little bit too stressed to be able to enjoy it thoroughly. But I'm glad that celebrations are occurring. I guess it reminds me that not everything's awful. But I am aware that I'm on a bit of a time schedule, so I start walking pretty swiftly after that.
And you walk swiftly, and as you're leaving the city center area, it's not that there's no one there, but definitely less people. There are places you pass which seem to be the center where people gathered. You see lights in some of the windows of the buildings that are semi-standing, at least, of people who have sheltered there. Look out the window, you see some people dancing there. And eventually, as you're approaching the Garrison Szczęśliwice, before you get there, the city becomes more quiet. There's less people here, less people live here. And you see in front of you, finally, the long dark walls of the barracks marked by multiple doorways. And somewhere from that direction, you hear clapping and scream and laughter and cheers.
Oh, good. Well then. I think on the way I've been telling myself that familiar lie that I need to help Arik, that I need to get Gravedigger's help, that I've been struggling because of my memory issues, that I just need to discuss it with someone, that I obviously don't have anyone to discuss it with in the Camarilla. And so by the time I'm approaching it, I'm still stressed, but it's for slightly different reasons.
And we'll come back to you. Meanwhile, Janina, you enter the Three Crosses Square. You see there is a church in the middle of a square. You've been here before, even before the war, you knew that church. It has been bombed out now. One of the towers is still standing, but the ceiling of the round main part of the church has collapsed. Not far from the church, in the center of the square, a fairly sizable Christmas tree has been put up. There's quite a few people, a bit of a crowd really, gathered here outside. People are drinking. Someone is playing the accordion. There are some people dancing. And you feel this pull to move through the crowd.
Okay, I'm moving through the crowd, following the, I guess, sensation where I have to go.
Do you not? You don't try to resist it at all.
I think, depending, do I feel dread?
I don't know, do you?
Because I'm not like
Not
sure.
in and of itself from it.
Okay. I think confusion and curiosity is the main emotion I'm feeling right now.
So you're curious and confused.
Yes.
Is there anything else that you think?
I just want to know where I'm going and who I'm gonna find there. And I really hope it's not Sabbat. Unless it's Nastia. She's the only Sabbat I want to see.
And you are moving through the crowd, passing the Christmas tree in the bombed out church. Someone bumps into you as they're dancing, but you keep walking. They say sorry and then keep dancing, clearly fairly drunk. Someone stretches a hand offering you something to drink just from a bottle. Hey, beautiful, do you want to have a drink? Come on.
I just push him away.
You just push him away. It's oh. He
I think I'm just too concentrated on
wants to start protesting,
feeling.
but falls down, and you keep going. And you are moving towards a column that is standing to the side of the square, with a cross on it. And you know you're moving towards that column.
Okay.
You know you're very close.
Okay. I think I'm becoming more aware and pay attention to my surroundings more, but I still keep going. I'm not trying to resist.
What's your perception and alertness? With difficulty 8, because crowd.
Wow. I have 1 success.
You have 1 success, so you don't quite see for the crowd at first. You try to keep an eye out for anything you recognize, what it might be, and not long before you get to the column, but before you do, let me just take 1 roll as well. Okay, so you see, leaning against the column is Nastia. She's wearing a long red skirt and short black jackets. Her blonde hair is freely falling onto her shoulders and her back, in gentle waves. And you think she notices you the moment you notice her. And your eyes lock with her eyes. And she smiles.
I probably look at her for a moment, and I give her like a sad smile, and I ask her, "Is that really you?"
She, as you come up and ask the question, she shakes her head. Of course it's me. And then she pulls you closer and gives you a kiss.
I kiss her back
How are
Very-
you feeling?
very desperately. I'm feeling it's a mix of emotions. I think I'm excited and euphoric from finally being with her again, but at the same time, I think I'm scared. I'm scared for her because I know there's a bloodhound on her. So that's my two emotions. But right now I'm trying to enjoy kissing her.
And she kisses you, and there's something very joyful and desperate in it. She clings to you, just pulling you into an embrace and kissing you very passionately. And then she breaks off just to say, I missed you so much, and leans in to kiss you again.
I will just continue to kiss her. And I'm not saying anything for now.
So you continue to kiss her. Happy to see her, but worried for her.
Yes.
Meanwhile, Bea, you are approaching the garrison.
Yes.
And you get to the arches. You know, lead to a courtyard, but you have to pass through the dark inside of this barracks. And you get a certain sense of unease, like you've been here before, you don't remember exact. Well, actually, you did spend the willpower to remember some of it, so you might remember some of the tricks they played on you.
Oh, it's all coming back to me now. Yeah. So I'm nervous, but I figure that sneaking up on them isn't a good idea. So I walk in.
You walk in, and you hear from quite close, you think, the courtyard area, someone clapping their hands. You hear almost an explosion. You think someone is setting off fireworks early. There's some cheers. There is scream and crying, like someone is begging and someone else is laughing.
Okay. Well, I'm approaching.
You're approaching. Can you pass through completely dark inside of the barracks? And you want to go straight through to the courtyard.
Yes.
And you emerge into the courtyard. And you see there is a bonfire in the middle. And there are some people around it. You see there's someone setting off another round of fireworks that just explode, not very far and not very high from where the barracks are. And other people cheer like, hell yeah, yeah, try to hit him. And they're pointing to a person who has been strapped to the roof of one of the barracks in one place and is just lying there trembling.
Okay.
You see there are some people, I think, with broken legs and hands who kind of either crawled or crying or trying to crawl away, and occasionally someone scoops them with a boot or stamps on them or grabs someone to have a drink. And you take a look at it. And then suddenly, boom, in your face, you see Nosferatu with a dislocated jaw who appears out of nowhere.
Okay.
Roll your self-control.
Okay.
Just plain self-control.
Just straight up.
With difficulty, I think 8.
Yeah. It's sure is an introduction. Well, no, no successes.
Do you flinch? Do you scream?
I think I do kind of like jump back, and like, there's sort of a noise of surprise. It's not like a full scream. There is kind of that sort of jolt. And then try and settle myself. But I'm definitely on edge.
And you see Gravedigger, hunched forward figure, with this part of the skin kind of grayish and darkened part, looking like they all lost all color. His jaw, as always, dislocated. His features, pronounced to the grotesque, almost caricature-like way, staring at you, and just laughs in your face. Ha! Good to see you. We need to talk. And he points back out into the dark corridors and out of the barracks.
Okay. I'll nod and follow his lead if he's leading.
He's leading. Well, actually, he pushes you forward.
Oh, okay. I'll make that self-control check, so I'm not
Yeah.
flinching from the physical contact.
What's the highest thing you have?
A 9.
Yeah, I think that'd be fine. Even for that.
Yeah, I'm not having a great time, but I'm coping.
So you don't flinch. And he doesn't lead you far, but he leads you just out the barracks. Thought we might talk in some peace and quiet. It's quite a night.
Yes, I say, sort of looking back in the direction of the very close fireworks.
So, what took you so long?
I have memory problems. I'm working on trying to get blood to him when I can, but, well, it's not like I can ask anyone for reminders.
Right, well, so he's still alive.
Yes.
Well, that's good. You're getting him blood. Do you
Yes.
need help? What's your plan for getting him out?
Once I think I can release him safely, I'm going to make sure that I can work out roughly where people are going to be in the building at the time. I know there's several side exits I can get him out of. And thinking about potential transportation.
Transportation?
If it'll be faster and get us away from the hotel quicker before anyone can notice.
Oh, once we're out of there, you know, we can be nearby.
I understood I was bringing him here.
Well, that is to be decided
Okay.
once I know your plan. We can help.
Okay.
What do you need from us? You said you need blood. Do you need us to get some wheelbarrows? Put, you know, we can grab. Blood's all you need. We can get you some blood.
That would probably be useful.
When?
Tomorrow? Tomorrow night?
All right then. Tomorrow night.
I'll mention a sort of side street somewhat away from the hotel. It's not like that's like close enough that it's not like right by the main doors or anything, but or somewhere that I think wouldn't draw too much suspicion anyway.
And we're getting him out tomorrow night. Can you hide both yourself and him? Do you know how many people will be around tomorrow?
Not yet, but I can try and work that out.
Good.
I can't hide the both of us yet. It's not something I've quite learned how to do.
And you see this displeased look on his face. He just shakes his head.
I feel kind of embarrassed for some reason.
What condition is he in?
He needs to heal. He's injured. He's badly injured.
Well, how are you gonna get food to him if you can't hide yourself and others?
Like I said, the side entrances. Sorry, my brain's slightly frozen. Could I try and think of like the best way of getting someone into the hotel? And could I make a roll for this? Because my brain is not functioning right now.
Well, so, from what Bea would know, I don't need to roll for this.
Yeah.
There are side entrances.
Mm-hmm.
You think you might have been a bit hasty saying you want to get Arek tomorrow, given you have not discussed it with Mr. Cernovsky or
I'm not
anyone.
really thinking about that.
You're not thinking, yeah.
Well, in fact, since that he needs to heal, he probably needs more blood than that. I'm presuming, given I can only get like maybe a wheelbarrow in at a time. So I might suggest instead that it was in a couple of nights' time.
Yeah, that's fine. We can change that as well.
Okay.
You think, to get someone in is the issue of avoiding people who might have auspex and see through obfuscate. So finding the route, being on the lookout, making sure no one like that is there. That would be something to keep in mind, certainly. The question is whether you want to get Gravedigger in there to bring whatever he brings, or
I think that
just
potentially
pick up what he brings.
Pick up, I think, would be the easiest method.
All right.
Because I can at least blab my way out of it if I'm found.
So he says, I can make deliveries. Just pick a spot. Okay. And you can pick a spot somewhere, like, just to help you out. If you wanted, you could pick a spot that's not far from a hotel, so that he doesn't have to come to the hotel as such. Where he can just, leave things for you if you set when it's going to be.
Okay.
And you can get it from there to Arek.
I'll try and set like a time that's gives him enough time to sort of like acquire stuff and get over there. So maybe sort of midnight.
All right. Yeah.
And also
we can do midnight. Won't be an issue.
All right.
Well,
I kind of just write it on the back of my hand.
He looks to you and says, good. If you don't remember, you should be writing things down.
Yes. It's just writing them in places where other people aren't going to find them.
Yeah, until you learn how to deal with other people.
He says, and you think he's not unfriendly as such. It almost reminds you of like a teacher.
It's kind of comforting.
Well, you make sure they don't kill him before we can get him out.
Yes, sir.
And when it comes to getting him out, if you need us to cause a distraction, and he smiles, revealing his part broken, part dislocated teeth as he does that. Well, I'm sure we can show Camarilla some fun while you lead him out.
I'll think on it. And I'll do some reconnaissance.
Good. Now come along. You can't visit and not join the party. Would be rude.
I find myself following along after him then, given that it would be rude.
And he wraps his arm around you and starts leading you
Back into the darkness of the barracks.
And I think this is a good time for a break. So we will be back in about 10 minutes. Thank you all so much for watching. And please stay with us. We'll see you after the break.
Bye-bye.
And welcome back. Thank you so much for staying with us to continue the story of Bea and Janina. And let's jump right back in with Janina. Janina, you're kissing Nastia very passionately. She only broke off to say that she's missed you, and she continues to just pull you close and kiss you.
I will continue to kiss, but I think after a while. And so sorry, my brain just froze.
Okay.
I guess it's contagious.
It may be.
Don't
Don't worry, take a minute.
What I wanted to say was, after a while, if she tries to still continue kissing, I just like gently try to like push her away and just look at her, stroke her hair, and look at her.
She looks at you with a smile.
Are you okay?
I'm fine. I just wanted to see you. I've missed you so much.
I missed you too. Does she look happy?
Roll perception and empathy. Difficulty 6. Do you want to spend willpower?
No, I have 2 successes.
That's a roll off.
Oh no. What was the difficulty?
6.
Okay,
6.
then I have. Wait, 2 successes because I have 2 ones also.
All right. Well, she has 1. So you see that she is happy to see you. And she is really happy that she's with you and she wants to enjoy it and be with you. And you see that she definitely is trying to avoid thinking about some things too.
Okay, I just look around quickly, see if we are like alone.
There's people around,
Yeah.
but they seem, they're parting. Sometimes someone like kind of waves in the general direction of you, but they don't really pay that much attention.
I think I just pull her into a hug and I whisper that she isn't safe, that everyone in Camarilla is off to get her, that there's a bloodhound on her, and that she has to stay hidden.
She tenses a little bit when you say that, and then looks to you and says, Janina, let's not talk about this right now. Please come dance with me.
Well, I follow and dance with her, but I think I clench her very desperately because I'm so worried about her.
And she holds your hand very firmly, strongly as well, not wanting to lose this touch. And the connection with you, and leads you more towards the crowd where there's someone playing accordion, there's someone playing a trumpet, there's like who has an instrument, brought one basically, and people have put together impromptu band. And people are dancing, and she just starts dancing with you, and she's smiling, and leans towards you, gives you a kiss very gently as you are dancing.
I'm enjoying time with her, but I think more like I'm having fun, but there's still like I worry about her, and I want to ask her so many things.
Do you
But for now,
attempt to? No, for
well,
now
for
you're
now,
done.
not. Yes, I want her to feel at ease, and I'm just enjoying her company.
So for now you're dancing and enjoying each other's company. Meanwhile, there, you step back into the courtyard with Gravedigger. And you see a similar scene to what you've seen before. You can't help noticing that the person who was strapped to the roof has clearly been hit by one of the fireworks and torn to shreds. There is some blood dripping, and you see someone who looks vaguely familiar standing just underneath it with his mouth open, trying to catch the blood as it drips. And there's some people who are dancing around the bonfire, but you see across the courtyard from you, behind the bonfire on the other side, there is a small mound, looking possibly like a mass grave of sorts, and on it stands a priest dressed in a dark black robe with a rope tied around his waist. And he stands on there and observes the scene in front of you. As you look around, from the people you would recognize, just to give you, the player, an idea, you do see a man who has been dancing with you at the previous Sabbat event you attended, and he's the one trying to catch blood into his mouth.
Of course
as
he
it's
is.
dripping through the roof.
I'm unsurprised.
You see a man in torn, even more torn than before, Red Army uniform, who's with the other men also trying to catch the blood dripping from the roof, and they're pushing each other. You see the Nosferatu Danka, who is at the moment just dancing around the bonfire, and then grabs someone off the ground to bite into his neck, have a little bit to drink, push him towards someone you don't recognize. Gravedigger is obviously there. Florian the priest is standing on this mound. And you see also standing in, sort of to the side, almost in a corner, the woman who was giving you a side eye at the previous event.
Yay.
And she was just observing, looking to Florian and looking at the whole gathering. And as you step through, Gravedigger gives you this quite strong pat on the back. All right then, have fun, kid.
I sort of give him a slightly sort of wide-eyed look. He's sort of
And he's pushing you towards the whole like crowd and gathering, and
okay.
doesn't quite walk off like super far, but
Yeah.
sort of seeks a wander.
Okay.
And as you look around, have your perception and empathy,
Okay.
just generally.
It's just
With
general
difficulty.
perception empathy.
7.
That is 1 success.
1 success. So you don't really see very much. You get the impression that not everyone is as into it as the others. So there's some people who look maybe a little bit scared, but they kind of try to play along.
Okay.
And as you're standing there, sort of wondering,
Taking it in.
taking it all in,
Yeah.
Florian raises his hands and looks over the whole scene and starts speaking. My brothers and sisters, my soul delights at seeing you here at the dawn of the new year, celebrating your strength after shedding the burden of remorse. Rejoice, for the year that comes will be a glorious one. The Camarilla will crumble at our feet, and we shall feast on the blood of the pawns of the ancients. Blood of the elders shall nourish our souls, preparing us for our crusade. And you see that some people go like, hell yeah, and are clapping, while others look a little bit less, like, a little bit put off by it, a little bit confused.
Who's looking particularly confused?
So on one roll, you do see a woman in a dirty, bloodied skirt and quite dirty shirt, looking fairly young, maybe around 20. There's a man who is holding a shovel, sort of leaning on it, who kind of glances at the bodies, at the ground. Well, bodies and people who are still alive at the ground.
Dead bodies and live bodies.
Almost unable to look away. There is another man in this typical workers' clothing, fairly young. You think maybe in his mid-20s, who is kind of clapping, but you see that he kind of looks to others and tries to copy what they do.
Okay.
And Florian continues. Don't falter, my brothers and sisters. Harden your souls and rejoice. Let the joy banish weakness from your hearts. Our dedication and zeal will shame the Archbishop of Krakow, who has been sitting on her laurels for centuries. The sacred purpose bestowed upon us shall be fulfilled by the end of the millennium. Fill your hearts with joy, for you are the sword that shall strike down the unbelievers and their masters. And more people clap and cheer. And then those who are unconvinced, they kind of join in, but are definitely feeling a bit uneasy about the whole thing.
Me rising up.
What about you? What do you do? How are you feeling?
I think I was initially glad for the opportunity to listen rather than do anything, but I don't know. I'm feeling very nervous because I'm not really a part of the celebration, but I'm also here as a guest. I'm feeling I'm feeling lost, a bit overwhelmed, but I'm in the right place. I'm here to help Arik, and so I'm sort of telling myself it's okay. It's okay. This is where you're meant to be. and finding a bit of comfort there. I'm not like joining in the cheers because because they were talking my brothers and sisters, presumably in the Sabbat, and I'm not a part of that. Right, it's certainly not at the moment. I'm kind of guest hanger on. At least that's the way I view it at the moment. I think that's sort of cemented in my head from the end of the last celebration, where there was like that invitation to come drink, and that was made clear to me from a look that that was not for me to join in with. So it's this weird thing of like, I'm here and that means something, but I'm still an outsider to a certain degree.
You stand there amid the cheers. You see people set off more of the fireworks into the sky, into the walls of the garrison, kind of all around, as they clap and scream. And as you're standing there, Florian locks eyes with you over the flames and points at you. You, sinner, come. And he starts coming down from his mound.
I guess I will approach him then.
So you do approach Florian. Meanwhile,
So many cliffhangers.
Janina, you've been dancing with Nastia for a while. She's smiling, moving her hair, just throwing it around. Her red skirt is swirling as she turns around, moving fairly fast. You think definitely using her supernatural gifts to dance more gracefully and faster.
I'm enjoying looking at her, dancing with her. But I think after like, I don't know, 20 minutes, I don't know how long we are dancing, but I just grab her hand and take her a bit away, like from the people.
So you can walk into one of the alleys or into the
Yes.
ruined church if you'd like.
I don't want to like be too far away from like people because I think it's safer like to be among people. But I just want a bit of like more privacy
Church,
and more like
alley,
less. What's closer?
church.
Okay, then we are going to the church.
She lets you pull her in there. And as you walk in, there's like a couple there, and Nastia just says, "That's all right." And she looks to them and just gives them this look and says, "Get out of here." And they look scared and they kind of start scrambling out, leaving the place to you.
Okay, I think
And she smiles back at you.
there's something like a bit weird with her, like that she doesn't behave, that she seems more like confident and bold than I'm used to. So that maybe makes me like feel a bit, take me a bit aback, but like I'm trying not to like show it. And I just smile at her and sit on one of the ruined, if there's like a piece where we could like sit.
She sits next to you and she immediately leans in for the kiss and tries to like take your clothes off.
I'll kiss her, but I'll like pull her away. Like
She looks to you confused.
I want to talk.
All right then. What?
Tell me what's going on. How are you doing? Are you safe?
I'm safe. Janina, I don't want to talk about this right now. I just want to enjoy myself. I've missed you so much. I just want to have a good night with you. Please.
Let's talk and then we can have a good night.
I don't want to. Come on. And she pulls you in closer for a kiss.
I will kiss her, but I still like push her away again. I'm trying to do it like gently, but I really want to like, I want to talk to you. I need to know what happened.
You see that she gets anxious and kind of, she listens to you, and then she really doesn't want to talk about it. And just, I need Janina, please.
Are you happy with the Sabbat?
I'm happy here with you. Isn't that what matters right now?
It is, but
I love you.
I love you too, but I want to talk about our future.
Let's not think about the future right now. There will be days to talk about the future. Please just have fun with me. Come on, let's get some drinks. We can get drunk. Enjoy ourselves.
I think if it wasn't like the new year, I would like try to be more, like talk to her more, but at the same time, I'm very tired and I miss her so much. I just give up and do whatever she wants.
As you stop, as you rolled well, better than her on reading her, you see that she got like upset by the whole conversation, started getting a bit angry, a bit frustrated. But as you stop with it, she immediately is happy again, and you again get the sense that she is very much avoiding thinking about something. She's very much trying to escape from something right now.
Okay, and then I'm just gonna do whatever she wants, and I hope that after all the fun that there will be time to talk to her. But even if we are having fun, I'm just trying to be like aware and make sure that we are safe, that she's safe.
And she pulls you out. Come on, we can find some drunk people and get drunk too. How about that? We've never done that together.
Oh, well, since it's the new year, let's do that. Who knows how many New Years there are gonna be.
She kind of pauses. Janina, there will be many, many New Years.
I give her a sad, trying to reassure her with my smile, but it's like a low, sad smile.
She smiles at you and says, hey, I know you worry, but we're going to be okay. I love you.
I love you too, but I worry about you, and I just want you to be safe and for us to be together, but I'm not sure how that's gonna be.
We'll work it out.
To kill you, and I definitely don't want to join the Sabbat.
She kind of looks to you. And as you like lay it all out, she looks kind of almost struck by it, like you pulled something out that she was trying to escape, at least one of those things. And you think she wants to reach out to you, but then she gets there's this anger that flashes in her, almost as if she was about to frenzy for a moment. But she controls herself and instead just grabs you and tries to push you to the ground in that church.
Okay. Well, if we are like in that church and we are alone, I just let her.
You let her.
Yeah.
And then she holds you down and starts kissing you. And she's very insistent. And she's not violent as such, but she's definitely holding you down, not letting you move.
Well, I'm not like trying to. I'm doing what she wants, so I just start to kiss her back and hope
How are
that
you
she's
feeling? What's running through your head?
I'm worried about her safety and her mental state, like what's going on with her. Like she doesn't feel like how I'm used to her being. So it worries me, and I'm really not sure what she's like, what she wants to do, like, except like running away. I have like no idea how we could like be together.
And as you're not fighting her, she gets more gentle and starts kissing you and very gently moves to remove your clothes. Do you react in any way?
Well, I remove. I guess I start to like do the same thing to her.
And she
Yeah.
smiles and looks happy again.
It's so easy to make her make her happy.
And she feels entirely lost in the moment right now.
I'm really like trying to do that too, but I'm
Roll your perception and empathy again.
half pretending.
Difficulty 7.
1 success.
You get the feeling she might already be a bit drunk.
Okay. Yeah, well, that explains some things.
It's not everything that's there.
Okay.
There's a lot there, but you think that she already is
Okay.
in that way sort of erratic.
Okay, I guess that maybe makes me feel a bit more at ease. And I continue, but I'm still like, I'm enjoying her and I'm being like, I'm reciprocating everything that she's doing, but I'm more pretending for her because I'm really not, like, I'm enjoying the contact with her, but I would rather like just be talking and figuring things out. But since I think she's a bit drunk, I want to keep her. I want to spend time with her and maybe make her sober up a bit.
And you start making love with her in the ruined, bombed out church.
So romantic.
Meanwhile, there.
A somewhat less romantic setting.
Depends for whom.
Well,
As you come up to Florian, and he steps down from the mount, he looks to you, but looks you up and down. So, did you rethink your ways and want to repent?
I'm here to help my friend. I'm here to help Arik.
He smiles at that and looks you up and down. Last I saw you, you were a pathetic worm, barely worthy of being crushed under the feet of the righteous. But it is not too late for atonement. You want to help my brother. Do you think you have the strength?
I will do what I have to.
And what do you think it may entail? How clear is your vision after being corrupted by lies of the elders?
I won't leave him there.
Sorry?
I won't leave him there.
So it is love that's driving you.
Yes.
And what about you? What do you seek? You who have been wrapped in sins and lies for so long.
I seek clarity. I seek comradeship. I seek certainty.
Those whom you serve have been denying you these things. And these are the same ones who keep you weak and have kept you weak. We have comradeship and certainty and purpose and love and strength for all who are brave and bold enough to take it. Are you bold enough, sinner? Are you ready to shed your past?
Shedding my past is easy.
He smiles. Tell me, have you ever partaken in what your masters label a forbidden fruit?
No.
And would you like to taste the soul and vita of another that gives you strength?
And I think I'm taken aback for a moment because I've not really considered this question of late. So it's right. It's not been on my agenda
Of late.
You know, that certainly wasn't on the curriculum. But there is that draw that always comes from tasting kindred vitae, and I sure have tasted a fair bit of it at this point. And there's fear there. I think there's also some curiosity. So, but it's this weird sensation of like knowing that is forbidden and that is something that I should not be considering. But now that he's pitching the question to me, I'm now sort of asking myself the question of, is that? And yeah, I'm sort of going through a very, I'm trying to process this quickly, but I think it's taking me a moment. And sorry, what was the question he asked me?
The question was, would you like to partake in the forbidden fruit, the soul and vita of another that gives you strength?
Oh boy, yeah, that nice and easy question to answer.
So you stand there, considering, and I'm gonna give you a moment.
Thank you.
And move back to Janina.
I think I should say, can it be yours?
That would certainly be a bold response. I think the answer is only if you can take it.
Something along those lines. Janina, you're making love to Nastia. Not fully into it. Still worried about her. Preferring to talk. But Nastia seems happier. She seems fully into it. Almost like she wants to lose herself in you and this moment with you and not think about anything else.
I'm trying to do the same, but it's hard because I'm just too stressed, and this was so unexpected, and I'm just worried. I'm just worried about the future.
And she looks to you. You're tense. Would you like me to help you relax?
I want to, but you have to promise me we will talk after.
We will talk after. She
Oh.
promises, and you say that she doesn't even necessarily mean it or not mean it. She just says whatever to reassure you. It's not entirely a lie. It's like she knows it will need to happen, but she doesn't want to think about it right now.
Okay. In that case, I will let her relax me.
Then she smiles at you. And you look to her and you become much more focused on her, and you are under influence of presence.
Okay.
And you feel the love for her and wanting to keep her happy even more strongly. Like everything kind of moves to the back of your mind for a moment.
Yeah, I think that's like it's a relief for a bit, like to just not be thinking about like important stuff. So I'm trying to indulge in that and just indulge in that feeling.
And you indulge, continuing to make love and kiss. And at some point, as she's kissing you, you feel a sting of a bite on your neck. And then in very intense pleasure, and please roll your self-control with difficulty 8.
No. Well, okay. No, it's fine. I have 1 9. I thought it was a 6, but it's 9. Something.
So you don't lose yourself completely in it, but it is probably the strongest, most pleasurable sensation you can remember.
Okay. Then I'm enjoying it.
And she drinks,
I'm letting her know that I'm enjoying it.
She drinks a little bit.
Okay, good. I was worried for a bit.
Don't worry. And then she stops and smiles at you and bares her neck. And almost like wants to very gently.
Well, I think if I'm under the influence of the presence, then
you can resist presence if you so wish in this moment.
I don't think Janina wished before, so I don't think it would make sense for her. Like,
no, I don't think
to do
so.
it right now. So,
I agree. I'm just reminding you.
Yeah. Okay.
For the sake of.
So I will bite her.
So you bite into her, and you taste her vita, and you have not tasted that much very strong vita. It is wonderful. It is incomparable to the blood you drink from the mortals. And you remember when you drank some blood of Bea, it was more pleasurable than drinking from a mortal, but this is better. This is more intoxicating. This is way more pleasurable. And you see that Nastia, for a moment, just loses herself in it and is out of it for a little bit.
Okay. I'm enjoying. I'm handling her very gently.
How much do you drink from her? She would have taken like 1 blood point off you.
I think I would do this like the same thing. Like I would count the time and try to like do the same amount.
All right, then you regain your blood point that you would have lost.
Okay.
And you can also write a second step of blood bonds to Nastia.
I have so many like blood bonds that I already like lost track of them. I have them written all over my
You don't
character
have
sheet.
that many from what I remember. Bea has way more.
Yeah. I have with Bea,
Florian, Arek, Nastia.
Okay.
I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will write on one
And
place.
Bear and Nastia are both 2-step now.
Okay. I hope I'm not gonna have more steps with Florian.
Well,
I think Beas maybe gonna be the
maybe.
one.
Who knows? And when you move away from Nastia, she lies there for a moment, just smiling in delight, and then smiles at you and pulls you in for a kiss
I
and
kiss her
continues to kiss you.
and snuggle with her.
And after a while, you're lying there in the ruins of a church together. She's leaning on you, stroking your hair very gently.
I think I'm still like kind of high on her vita and on the present, so I'm just enjoying. I'm trying to enjoy that short bliss.
And you enjoy it, spending that moment with her. Meanwhile, Bear, what do you answer?
So I think out of the sort of practiced habit of responding as being a good little Camarilla pawn, I say no, but it is a lie. It's kind of that sort of like, I can't possibly say that I have a curiosity to doing that. And
Alright.
I'm almost trying to convince myself of it.
So you say no. Do you
But
try to hide that it is a lie?
I think I am like unintentionally trying to. Like I'm
Manipulation and subterfuge.
okay.
What is it?
Nada.
But
It's
nothing.
not a convincing lie.
Florian gives you a look.
I think I end up sort of looking at the floor.
And then he's not hiding what he's feeling. So there is this look of, it's not really disappointment. It's more like confirmation of something
Mm-hmm.
and disgust and sadness. And he gestures over you and says quite loudly, "This is how the weak and enslaved choose slavery to the elders." And he turns around and leaves you standing there.
I'm trying very hard to not start shaking. And I think I'm almost not hearing any of the fireworks. Like, I mean, they're aggressively loud, but like I'm somewhat sort of dissociating out of it. And just find myself staring at the mass grave and feeling kind of sick with myself. And also feeling kind of pathetic now that he's said that about me. Yay, one step blood bond.
And as you're standing there, someone just grabs you from behind and wraps arms around you. Roll your self-control.
Oh,
I would
boy.
say difficulty 8 at least at
That's
this
fair.
moment.
I've got like 3 successes.
Okay, so you don't like flinch or start screaming or anything.
Yeah.
You control yourself.
Okay.
And holding you and kind of turning you around in his arms is Janko, the man you danced with previously. There is some blood dripping down his face and neck. He's quite handsome man in his 20s with just like few days old stubble. And he looks to you and smiles, kind of wrapping arms around you, getting a little bit handsy.
Oh God.
Going like, why the long face, beautiful? Come on. You should have said yes, but let's have something out of this night. Let's have a dance.
I think just out of like sort of panicked reaction, I just go with it. I'm not entirely comfortable with how handsy he's being, but I think that sort of memory from when I was last here and Gravedigger saying you don't want to say no to him is sort of floating through the back of my mind, and that's making me concerned about saying no to him. So I go with it.
So you go with it and start dancing with him, and he's definitely keeping you quite close.
Okay.
You have a feeling of discomfort that it wasn't there before when you were dancing with him.
Yeah, I think I had some presents on me last time.
Yeah, but also he's being much more almost
Right.
aggressive and disrespectful.
Good, great. I love that for me.
And we'll come back to that. But meanwhile, Janina, you're lying there with Nastia, enjoying this moment.
I will probably just like look at her, stroke her face, and tell her. So, what are you up to these nights?
She looks up at the sky that you can see through the collapsed, broken down ceiling, at the moon and the clouds. She doesn't answer for a moment, and then still not looking at you, still looking at the sky. Says, I really wanted to just not talk tonight, but
I'm sorry, but I don't know when we are going to see each other again.
remembering, relearning, missing you so much.
What happened? Like, what? Tell me everything you remember.
Please, please don't ask me now, please. I don't want to spoil this one moment. I'm going to have to go back soon.
Fine. And then I will just hold her hand and watch the sky with her.
How are you feeling?
Sad. Like, I guess bittersweet because I'm enjoying this moment with her, but I know it's not gonna last. And I don't know if I will see her again.
And she's holding your hands and almost reading you, responding to something in you. She says, I'll find you again. We can meet up again.
I hope we do, but I'm worried about you. It's not safe. Every kindred wants to kill you.
It's not safe for you either. From what I hear, well, I don't know if there's going to be Camarilla in the city for much longer.
Do you have any insights about what's gonna happen?
I don't know. I don't know. And don't do this, Janina. I care about you. I want to keep you safe.
I want to keep your safety. But I don't know.
Can you speak up a little bit or move closer to this?
Sorry.
Hey.
I don't know what to do. But let's talk about that next time. But you can't just be avoiding it, okay? We have to
I
talk
just
about.
needed to
Yes.
see you and have some fun.
No, I missed you so much.
I missed you as well. And she turns to you and kisses you on the cheek very gently. I really don't want to go back. I'd rather just stay here with you forever.
I know. I wish we could do that. I mean, I don't care about Camarilla, and I don't care about the Sabbat. I just want to be with you. But there are people in the Camarilla that I also care about, like Bea. And I wish I could just take Bea, Daniel, Roman, and just leave with you somewhere else.
She looks kind of sad at that.
I kiss her on the forehead. Okay, let's meet up again. Is there any way you can contact me, or are you going to use?
I can call you like that.
Okay, good.
Can you do the same?
I don't think so. I don't think I can.
You should practice. You should practice
I will try.
your magnetism. You are wonderful. I'm sure you can make others find you wonderful. Focus on that. Practice. It will come. And then we can always call and find each other.
All right. And just go. I want you to be safe. I don't want anyone to be upset you're not there. And I kiss her on her forehead and on her lips before she leaves.
She kisses you and she leans in for a kiss for a long time. And then she pulls back and the presence is now gone. She dropped it. She's not using it anymore. And she says, "Come with me. Stay with me for a bit."
I don't want to be in Sabbat. Sorry.
You don't have to. Just to see.
To see what?
It's all right.
I'm sorry, I love you, but I have no interest in this Sabbat. But have you seen Felicia there, a Malkavian, an older woman?
And she looks like taken aback by the question, like almost surprised.
I think Janina just imagined that she could like ask.
And she kind of thinks on it. Actually, roll your charisma and persuasion. Difficulty 7.
Where's the persuasion? So I'm always like looking for it, and I'm blind, and I never can find it. Where is it? Okay, here.
Persuasion should be at the very
I
bottom.
found it. What was the difficulty?
7.
Okay, then I have 1 success.
And she kind of looks to you taken aback, considers it for a bit, and then says, "Yes, I have. She's been talking to the bishop."
Is she safe?
As far as I can tell.
Is she part of the Sabbat now?
I don't know. I don't think so. Maybe.
Well,
I don't know, Janina.
If I can ask you, she's Bea's sire. If you are able, just keep an eye on her. Like, I don't want you to tell me like anything going on with the Sabbat, but I just want you to keep an eye on her as on a person that Bea cares about.
I'll do that.
Thank you.
I need to go now.
Okay, then be safe. And I kiss her again and give her a tight hug before she leaves.
And she lingers definitely in the hug and the kiss.
Don't
But
be
eventually-
a stranger, I whispered to her.
I love you,
I
she
love you too.
says. And then she goes, leaving you in the ruined church.
I think I'm just leaning on some of the rubble, just sitting there for a bit, just trying to gather my thoughts and think about how I should, like if I should tell Belle or if I shouldn't tell her about this.
And you're considering that. Meanwhile, Bea, Janko, that you're dancing with, is getting even more handsy. Do you react in any way? Do you do anything in response, or do you just...
I think I'm too frightened to actually stop him. But
So
I'm
you're
trying to hide it.
frightened.
I'm trying to hide it.
Roll your self-control and subterfuge.
Well done. I take it hiding emotions will come into this, shockingly.
Yes.
Difficulty 6. Oh boy. 2, 4. How about 9 successes?
So you're hiding it pretty well. He
Yeah.
actually seems to think you're maybe into it.
Oh, no. Fair enough.
And smiles at you even more and even comments about maybe there is something in you yet. But eventually, before it goes much further, you see the woman with really light blonde hair dressed right now in this little black dress, who comes up to the two of you, just kind of stops, grabs Janko by the shoulder, looks to you, looks to him, looks at him, and just says, "That's enough, darling. Fuck off now." And he kind of looks to her and wants to protest, then thinks better of it and just fucks off.
Internally thanking something.
And she turns to you without much smile or emotion in the face. Just says, "We need to talk."
I just nod.
And she leads you, not out of the courtyard, but to the side where she was standing before. And gives you a careful, scrutinizing look. So, what really brings you here?
Arik.
Sorry? You're very
Arik.
quiet.
Sorry. Arik.
Looks you up and down. Is that so?
Yes.
You certainly don't seem like the one to show bravery and defy your masters.
I'm not brave. But I am determined.
That is rarely enough, if you are to make it.
Maybe I don't make it, but I will help him first.
Well, for your sake, I hope that is indeed true. You were tempted, weren't you?
Bye.
By our priest's offer
And I think now that I'm not standing in front of a large audience, I think, yes.
Many are tempted to escape their bonds and slavery. But what really matters is whether you have the strength to take the opportunity. I wonder. If you would have made it anyway.
I just kind of look away.
Well, Beatrice, I'm sure I'll be seeing you soon. She says, with a smile that looks not friendly at all. It's not mocking as such, it's almost as she looks to you as if you were prey. And then she walks away.
And like a little bit of the tension that's in my shoulders sort of leaves me once I'm alone, but I'm still very tense. And I kind of glance back in the direction of the bonfires and the party.
You see those people setting off fireworks, the same sort of scenes you've seen before.
Yeah. And it doesn't feel like it did last time when I was in the haze of presence and where there was more of a feeling of sort of camaraderie. This time I just feel violated and scared. But I sort of look around looking for Gravedigger.
You find him there.
Yeah. He's been the one sort of friendly face. So I sort of look to him and take a breath and just remind myself that he at least seems to welcome me here. Seems to welcome my help and seems to at least offer some sort of guidance. And then I sort of remind myself that I'm here for Arik and that I need to get him home. And I wonder if I should leave now. I'm not entirely sure.
Gravedigger touches your eye as you're looking to him. And he kind of pats some Nosferatu you think fairly young you haven't seen before on the back, almost pushing them into the bonfire. And then starts walking towards you.
I think just because I'm so uncertain of what to do, I just end up sort of walking forward to go and sort of join him, still sort of glancing to the bonfire and the people and just looking very lost.
He looks at you. Well, kid, that was a pathetic display there. Florian. And then he puts like a hand on your shoulder quite heavily. Gives you a look. Maybe not all is lost. You need to go for it, you know? In this life, no one's going to give you anything. If they do, they're fucking lying to you, trying to enslave you.
I've just spent so long learning how to play the game.
Fuck the game. The game is for some, I don't know, pathetic ass lickers.
I don't want to be afraid anymore.
Then don't be. Tell yourself you won't be. And every time that fear creeps up, you bury your fangs at it and rip it to shreds until none is left. That's the way to do it.
And I sort of nod, sort of taking it in. And just thinking about how heavy his hand on my shoulder feels and how physically unimposing I am. And just wondering how to be able to back that up.
And he says, well, I think it's time for you to be going. The party will be dying down soon anyway.
I'll see you tomorrow.
You won't, but I'll leave something for you. As we agreed.
Thank you. And
as you say thank you, he just kind of shakes his head, and it's not unfriendly,
yeah,
but it's just
a
it's
sort
a
of
bit like condescending, as
Yeah.
you might be to a young child who just doesn't get something.
my mother raised me, I'm sorry. And I just kind of nod, again, feeling smaller and smaller inside myself, but trying to not show it. And I will take my leave.
When you leave, the garrison walking through the dark corridors and then emerging on the other side, hearing still some cheers, still some crying behind you. And how are you feeling as you're walking back?
Awful. Pathetic. Like there's no place for me anywhere. Still feeling Yanko's hands over me, and my skin's kind of crawling, and I almost want to just rip my own skin off. I think a couple of streets away, I've cloaked myself in obfuscate, and then sort of as I get further and further away, my composure sort of breaks down, and I'm just crying, tears, and just sort of whispering to myself, "It's for Arik, it's for Arik," over and over again.
And you walk back, crying, with those words in your mind. Janina, you've been sitting alone now in the Wombedow's church.
I think I'm just looking at the sky and think about Nastia, the whole situation, and trying to figure out what to do. And I think after I spent maybe a bit longer than I would like to there on my own, because I'm just too mentally drained. And after a while, I think I'm not sure if I should get back to the hospital or go back to the hotel. Because I realize now that I disappeared without like saying anything to anyone. I'm kind of worried about Hannah, especially like about Hannah. How far is the hospital? Is it more far than?
Yeah, it's further away than hotel.
Okay.
Hotel is not far. Hotel is
Okay,
like
then-
maybe 15 minutes walk. Hospital would
Okay,
be
then I think I'm
longer.
gonna try the hotel and see maybe Hannah made it back with Magda.
And
And
you
if not, I
start,
will call the hospital.
and you start walking back towards Hotel Bristol. And I think we will have a shorter session and end here for tonight. Thank you both so much for playing.
Thank you for
Thank you.
running.
And thank you to everyone who's been watching. We really appreciate you being here to follow this story with us. We will be back in 2 weeks, so on the 19th of March at 6:30 p.m. GMT, I think it will be still. And yes, we'll be here on the Lamias channel, and please join us again in 2 weeks to see what happens next. And until then, keep well and good night.
Good night.
Bye.